So, hello everyone, and welcome to this edition of Shergroup on the Sofa. I hope wherever you are in the world today, you've got a little bit of sunshine and you're having a great week. So, I'm delighted today to have my guest, somebody that I've really admired in the credit space, Bryony Crossland. And we're going to be talking to Bryony in a moment about all things credit and her journey as a senior credit professional. But before we get into that, as we always do on this show, I'm just going to say a shout out to my biggest fan, Shergroup's biggest fan, Mr. Ross Saunders. Hey, Rossi, wherever you are. I think you're in Norwich, England today. I don't think you're out and about today. So hey to you. I think Bryony just wants to give you a shout out as well.
Absolutely. Hello, Ross. Lovely to meet you or meet you. And I hope that I connect with you somewhere on social media. Thank you for joining us today.
Brilliant. Thank you so much. And for anybody that wants to join with us on social media, you're very welcome. We've got a lot of people in our community and we love to hear from all of you. So please don't be shy. So, Bryony, I'm so looking forward to this interview. I remember working with you in the CICM days when I was on the board, and you were coming up, into the senior positions in CICM. And what a great organisation that's turned out to be for credit professionals. I'm sure, like me, you're very proud of how it's got to where it is with its charter, etc.
Absolutely. Yeah. I'm very flattered by your comments, Claire, and same back at you. So I know we worked really well together when we were on the board together. So yeah, great to reconnect.
Thank you so much. So, like everybody I ask who's in credit, what kind of path did you follow to get to where you are now? Tell me about that.
Okay. So my all of my background has been around languages. So my natural thing in school, if I say natural, the thing I enjoyed most, the thing I found easiest, I guess anything's easy compared to sciences, but I loved languages. So I did a degree in international business, after which you kind of go, now what? So I can speak 4 languages fluently, but what do I do with that? But a degree in business gave me lots of diversity in terms of things I'd tried, a bit of accounting, a bit of economics, everything else. So I became the PA to a international credit manager in my first job from university, and he said, "You're quite good at this." My natural skill set apparently is talking a lot. So I think that helped because communication is obviously a big thing, but that is literally what happened. And in 1990 something, I became a credit controller, and the financial director said to me, "Here's the CICM magazine," as it was ICM magazine at the time. "I bet you can't get qualified." And you don't bet me. And in 2.5, maybe 3 years, I got my qualification. And yeah, the past is there. So now I still, in my role now today, I'm Director of Credit Financial Services for Wesco Anixter, $25 billion Fortune 200 company, using my languages. So I'm doing that job still with my languages with a very talented team of credit professionals around Europe, Middle East and Africa. Super proud of them, but a lot of them on that same journey. So encouraging them to qualify, use the things they're good at. So yeah, that's what happened with me.
I'm always in awe of people that can speak more than one language. I did O-level French at school. Now I'm dating myself, but I
Me
didn't
too.
do very well. So don't try any French on me. So 4 languages is outstanding, particularly for Brits, because we know we're a little mono in our own little lane.
We are. I thought you were going to say we're going to continue the interview in French, then I was a bit panicked.
No, not today.
Okay, good.
When I've genned up okay. So well, that's a terrific story to have moved from a PA, admittedly a graduate PA, into the role of credit management, and then obviously now a director of credit. And I am loving this title, director of credit. I have to say, I am so supportive of this, and I'm seeing more and more women as I interview people achieving this level. It's fantastic.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and we do in our business. I'm going to say we have a lot around inclusion, diversity, women and women in credit. I think we're probably 50-50 in the leadership team in the financial services group for Wesco Anixter. So yeah, it's all good.
That's very, very good. So what do you, I mean, actually, it's already radiating out of you. What do you love most about your job?
Um, I think, and I'm sure, and I listen back to some of your other interviews, I think the diversity of what we do, and it's not widely known that people think you ring people for money, and that's what they think the job of a credit controller is. It's so diverse. I mean, I've come into the office today. You don't know what's going to hit you. You know, it could be good, bad, indifferent. It's quarter end for us, so you know there's a huge amount of focus on getting your numbers, sales driving forward. We're a sales focused business. How do we support growth? So it's not
Yeah,
about holding things back or collecting money, it's about growing the business.
of course, of
I
course.
also love talking and I love having my team. My team, like I've just mentioned them, in my interaction with them is huge for me every day. The one-to-ones, um, checking what I know, what they know, what they can teach me. So however many years into my career, I learn something. And I think
Yeah.
that's what's great because the world's always changing. So that's really important for me.
Yes, yes, that's very much the mark of a modern manager is to let the team teach you, I think, as opposed to you downloading to them. That's fantastic when you, it's nice, isn't it, when you get to that point with your team.
It's so
There,
lovely. Yeah,
yeah,
and I'm very lucky. I've got talented individuals, like I say, linguists, culturally, they teach me a lot as well.
yeah.
You know, we're not all the same in my region, so it's important to
No,
understand that.
no. The melding of the cultures is fantastic as well as people come together. And of course, the internet and AI and tech tools
Incredible,
are shrinking
incredible.
the world, aren't they? So
Yeah.
it's great to see that. Um, so what advice would you give your 15-year-old self?
So my 15-year-old self, I don't know if even if you know this, Claire. So I had scoliosis as a teenager, and at 15, I had a full spinal fusion. And I was in a body cast from the shoulders to the waist. For a 15-year-old girl, it's not the best place to be.
Mm.
Um, and I think I learned a lot just from that. So what happened? What did I teach myself at 15 was to be positive, never to give up, really focused on every day is a new day and just getting better.
Yeah,
And like I said, I don't think I know you've known you for years, but I don't think you ever know that because it's not
no,
something I talk about or show, but actually that as it is now almost a disability with arthritis and all sorts of things. However, if I talk to any of my colleagues here, my friends, if my 15-year-old self needed to understand that failure is okay. Allow yourself to fail sometimes. Don't try and be a perfectionist. And I see a lot of new generation coming in and worrying about getting everything perfectly right. You only learn by failing.
yes,
In my career, the other thing I think I've learned is you get yourself technically clued up, but actually everything changes. You just talked about the world changing and everything else. You've got to change. You cannot just sit and say, I've done that and that's it, and that's what I'm going to do like that forever.
yeah,
Um, keep changing, keep looking for something new, but be
yeah,
positive. Don't be afraid to fail. Um, change is a given. So for me,
yes,
even now, this is the brand new office I'm sitting in today. We only moved in here 6 months ago, all change,
yeah,
which is great.
yeah. Yeah, if you can adapt and be you know, well, there's that song, I think it was Paul Young, wherever I hang my hat, it's my
Lay
home.
my hat. That's it. Wherever I lay my hat.
It's my home.
And
Yeah.
with my job, I have done all that travel. And I know you're working on the Global Credit Conference now. For me, we're a world. You know, we
Yeah.
should all kind of join together on that. Absolutely. Yeah.
Well, I understand about the scoliosis thing. I hope I pronounced that correctly because actually Ross had the same
There you
operation.
go. There you
So
go, Ross. You and me were meant to chat.
yeah, exactly right. Yeah. So I do know a little bit about it. And yeah, it's a big thing for a 15-year-old. But
Absolutely.
I can see, Bryony, that you are not someone to be defeated by anything.
No, I think my best memory of that 15-year-old though is I came out in the plaster, Claire, and I went back into the basketball court and I was the best defense that team had ever had because nobody was coming near me while I kind of looked this size. So
It's fantastic. Well, great inspiration, really, for people. And so now you've got to this stage in your life, this director of credit stage, which I think is, I'm going to keep saying that because
I feel like I need a badge.
you do need a badge or a hat. I
Yeah.
don't mind which.
Okay.
Who inspires you the most then? I mean, who and why do they inspire you?
Do you know what? There's not one single person, I don't think, who I admire the most. What I do admire are the qualities in people. So effective leaders, really good leaders, people who come up with new ideas. I love sport, so talented sports stars I could talk about all day because I watch them in awe. And I play a little bit of golf. I don't know how they move that ball like they do, and I can see, but people who have natural talent recognize those strengths and then go with it. One person who does inspire me, I'm going to just throw a name in here. Do you know Dan Hancock's from Co-Credo? I
I
have
don't know
to
them,
say
no.
that Dan, a number of years ago now, started his business Co-Credo, which is a credit agency provider based
Yes,
in the UK, up
yes,
against the big boys. So back then, we have all the big names of all the credit providers we know. Dan came up with a new and innovative company, a new idea. So he doesn't know I'm calling him out on here, but we work with him now. We partner with him. They are somebody that I really respect because he listens, he adapts. Their business has grown, and we work with others as well. So that's the other names apply, but that kind of person who tries to, I'm going to say disrupt, that sounds negative, but who tries to create new things, new energy, new passion.
yes. I love that. And I must speak to Dan because I actually know somebody at Crow Credo. So we'll have to swap,
Put you in touch. Absolutely.
put in touch with them. Yes, I mean, people that are a force for change for the good are great people to be around, and you can kind of get on board with their energy. So I'm sure that
Exactly.
the sort of people you like to have on your team as well. And what about your mentors? I mean, who have you had as mentors in your credit journey?
Interestingly, it was a non-credit person that I selected as my mentor, and it was a colleague who, I'm going to say straight talking, and again, I don't mean that negatively, just someone who I trusted at the time, and she's still my mentor. I'm not past tense, but who can be really honest with me.
Right.
So it was kind of, I'm in this situation. You don't want someone just putting their arm around you saying it's going to be all right. She actually went, well, that's useless. You're rubbish at that. And you shouldn't concentrate on that. You either can get better at it or you let that go to somebody else who is good at that and you crack on with this.
Yeah.
So it's thanks to her that I'm here at Wesco Anixter, because where I was kind of hitting my head on a ceiling and not enjoying it. I got to that place and she said, well, you either do this or you leave.
Yeah.
And I remember very clearly going back into the next one-to-one with her and just saying, can we have a catch up? I said, I've handed my notice in. And she was mortified because we worked together. But she
Yeah.
went, it's the right thing. And like
Okay.
I say, I've kept her in my life, but it's that honesty, trust, and don't expect them always to give you nice news or hand around the shoulder. It is around directing you, advising you
Yes.
for the right route, for the
Yeah.
right
Of
reasons.
course. Of course. Of course. And that's a great story. And I'm glad that that person is still in your life and still um, supporting you in your decisions. We all need that, I think.
I was
Uh,
going to say, Claire, sorry, the CICM, I believe, do still have their mentor program. So again,
yeah.
if you did want someone in the credit world, you mentioned the Chartered Institute. So there is would you like to have a mentor? And particularly if it is in the credit network, that is absolutely available to CICM members. So it's a really good, having someone that you can go to outside of your work environment is really important for me.
Yes. Yes, that is important. And I'm glad to hear that CICM have continued to build that program because there are so many seasoned people in CICM who, people can tap into. In fact, here's a name that you will know, Brenda Linger.
Absolutely. Yes, know Brenda very well.
Hmm. So she was one of my mentors in fact, she got me involved in the institute in the first place. So
Yeah.
it was great to be working alongside her back 25 years ago. So
And Brenda and people like Brenda, but they've been great tutors. Their knowledge is valuable to
oh,
people, especially just within the technical area. Just incredible knowledge.
yes, indeed, indeed. Okay, well, that's nice to know. And so you've had this journey, you've got to where you are now. I mean, obviously you're at a point in your career where you can kind of look across the industry, the credit industry, and you can kind of take a view on what's, the good, the bad, and the things that need improving,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So what do you think is missing in the world of credit?
You and I go back quite some years. I think the same things are still missing a little bit. And it's lovely to speak to you in line with what you're planning, this Global Credit Conference and being the host this year. I think we need more we've got a great network. We've talked about it a little bit on this call. So we all know each other and we all can tap into each other. But I think on a global basis, we've got something missing. So we've got pockets of different institutes, and we've got CICM here, we've got FECMA across Europe, we've got various ones in the US and globally. But I think bringing them together and having that network, particularly a professional qualification for me, is you can get a CV across your desk and this person wants to do credit. Well, what qualification have they got? And we haven't got a recognised standard. We have in the UK, and I always push for a CICM qualification. That means they've studied, they've committed, have a good overview. But what is it that they need to be aware of? I think the what you're doing right now, bringing these networks together, I think is going to massively help. And I know Sue Chappell and various other people are coming to the conference. So I think that's a massive step forward in internationalizing credit. I guess I've got my language hat back on, but I think that's what's missing.
Yeah, in looking at what I've learned so far in terms of working in the Congress environment, I totally support that, and I can understand where you're coming from. And when I look at all of you, you're all doing very much, we've all got the same sort of journey, and you're all aspiring to be the director of credit, and you know the impact that you have on your organizations when you do, when your job works well and you've got a great team, then the impact on the organization is enormous.
Absolutely, yeah.
And so whether it's B2B, B2C, or a mixture, everybody is having that same impact. So yes, I think there's a need to look at the world as a global community of credit professionals, and that's what the Congress is aiming to establish and has established. But I think this year we've built on it even more. So
great. And an arm of that, sorry, Claire, as you were talking, the kind of whole, like you say, B2C, B2B, legal, debt recovery, everything that we do under the spectrum of order to cash, the whole working capital thing is so big for any business now. A success or failure relies on that being good. And I hear, we've got working capital forums and various other things again around the world you can join, but actually the credit piece of that for me is so fundamental.
Yeah,
brilliant.
I can understand that. Well, thank you for understanding the place of Congress in the makeup of the world's credit community. And what we want to do is see more and more of you join the movement, really, for a global credit community. It's not an organization, it's entirely voluntary, but getting involved with Congress and going to future congresses, wherever they may be, would be great to see more of you getting involved.
And I will say, for the purpose of this interview, Claire didn't ask me to say that answer. Just want to be very clear. That is my opinion.
You did, because it means that the reason for the Congress, which of course was established by Lewis, Declan, Joseph, and Eugene, is as true today as it was back in the time when it was established in 2008. Yeah. So so it's great to see that it's getting more exposure and more understanding. And of course, somebody like you and other people that I meet are doing a truly international role with your credit function.
Yeah.
So you have to work outside of your home state, if you like, because
exactly
you're globalizing, right?
Exactly that.
Yeah. So I think that's great.
That's great.
So in your kind of experience and your professional opinion, I mean, how do we get younger people, if that's the right term, involved in credit? Why do you think why don't people take up credit as a chosen career? I always find that people just choose it. They didn't choose it.
Exactly. And I did some work with the CICM going into universities, and I know there's some of that work still goes on into schools. Interestingly, Claire, I saw an article last week and they were asking school leavers what they wanted to do, what was their chosen career.
Yeah.
I'm going to ask you a question now. What do you think the top one or two answers were? What do people want to do as a career?
Oh God, I'm looking at my kids and I'm thinking, what did they want to do as a career?
It wasn't credit, was it?
No, it wasn't. It wasn't credit. I mean, I would imagine some kind of professional qualification, the professions, or they want to be a TV, they want to
Up,
have their own YouTube channel or
you're there, you're there. I want to be the two that came out. A social media influencer was number one, and a
yeah,
footballer was number two. And for
yeah.
me, I mean, that's attached to the presence of what those appear, those are not even careers really, are they? They're a talent or they're a nothing for me, but that's my age showing probably.
You're
But they
a
are
social
things that people
influencer now.
see.
You're on the show. You're a social media influencer. You didn't know.
Well, but this is the thing, isn't it? They see these and they see that they can earn money by doing that. And it's all about the money. It's all about the dollars. So being a credit manager, they're going, well, you're not going to earn, millions and millions of dollars and drive a Ferrari and live in,
Yeah,
LA.
yeah,
So I think there's that perception of what is our job. And I hope, and I know from what you're doing, we by doing these kind of things, we're not boring people. We've got really exciting jobs. What we do is actually quite fun. It isn't boring. We don't sit here counting beans all day. It is interesting, diverse, can career put you into a global role. You don't just have to sit in one location. So there's all the kind of travel things that you can. It does sound glamorous, I know, and I know you've done it. So you get in a car and you get to a taxi, and then you get to an airport, and then you go to the office and come back. But as part of that, you are traveling and you are seeing the world, and there's lots of things in a credit role that you can do that are fun. But that
yeah.
that I think we need to do more social media presence. I think we need to elevate um, what the job is. And I know, like I say, each of the organisations have already done quite a lot on that. But I'm not sure it's getting into the right ears. There's the apprenticeship schemes here in the UK. Again, that's great because people are coming in early and then going, actually, I don't want to do credit risk anymore. I want to do credit control or, go into a different part of the role. But there's things happening. But for me, it's how do we just advance that better? And I think it is we've got to get on with the kids, down with the kids, and see what they getting into them to understand what they see as the role, because it's not what they think it is.
I totally agree with you, and I think social media is such a great leveler in terms of giving people access to any industry that people want to promote. And credit to me has always been fascinating. My side of credit is very sharp end, but I got hooked on it as a young girl, and I never left it.
Yeah.
And so I understand exactly what you're saying, and before I started filming what we do, people could never see what we did. We talked about it, which was as dry as ditch water, really. But once you put it on TV, then it becomes very interesting for people. So,
I think so.
and professional organizations can work that up into a not maybe a TV show, but certainly YouTube
Hmm.
to really explain what they do and what their day looks like, what their team looks like,
Yeah,
get
I
that.
agree. And
So
it's the having access to it, like we talked about the Congress and various other things, people having access to it if they can't attend, other ways of accessing it and networking.
yeah,
Definitely. And this will be going out. Ross will send this around the world for us, I know, but definitely we will be sharing this, and watch this space as the applications to credit function flow in after this.
that's what we're waiting for. I think it's great though that you're talking about that, because some people are in denial about, what is happening with people coming into a profession or into an industry. And so it's good to sort of, well, how are we going to, how are we going to encourage more people coming out of uni and college and school to get involved with this function, as you say. And I've spoken to a number of you credit professionals now, not like me. I mean, I'm a sheriff, but you're a director of credit, and I am amazed by the amount of money that you are handling. What would you
Mm,
say? Your company turns over $25 billion a year,
yeah.
billion with a B. And I've met several women credit directors who are in the same kind of situation. And honestly, when I started talking about credit and getting involved with the institute, those people didn't exist.
Yep.
I think it's fantastic that you're all, moving forward and moving the conversation forward.
That's great. Let's, like I say, we keep doing it. We've recruited here into the EMEA Financial Services, and we've split the roles so that we have different skill sets. We have a lot of a younger, more accounting team looking
Yeah.
after credit risk because that's their skill set. They crunch numbers, they're really good at analysis. They don't really want to be customer facing or sales facing. And then we've got the different side, the communicators, the ones who can negotiate and do all of that good stuff into two separate teams, side by side. But rather than have a blended role where we used to collect the money, batch the money, go to the bank, pick up the bacon sandwiches, and then do a risk assessment. All of that used to be one role. Now we have it very clearly separated into the strengths. So again, not wanting anybody to have a bit that they can't do and fail, but actually play to their strengths, and it's working really well.
Fantastic. So what challenges do you think the future holds for businesses in the EMEA? Now, just spell that out for me, just for our listeners' benefit.
It's Europe, Middle East, and Africa.
Yeah, Europe, Middle East, and Africa. Okay, so what are the challenges that you think the future holds?
I'm not sure it's just limited to EMEA, actually. Obviously, we've got a lot of economic, political right now. There's an elections looming in various countries around Europe, including the UK. We've got war. We've got a lot of difficulties. I'm not saying that's isolated to here, but all of those things impact on the fact they're trying to run economies, and businesses are still trading and still wanting credit and wanting to pay and terms, etc.
Yeah.
Alongside that, so that's kind of the world. I then see AI, fraud attempts on both consumer and trade credit. And then we've got legislation. So we've got in the EU, the late payment legislation again being talked about again, being resurrected, I'm going to say. So it's coming again. All trying to, and in Morocco, there was a recent law change. So everybody's trying to keep the money flowing. That's what economics do. But in the middle of it, you've got all of those things causing you distraction, causing you potential impacts on what you can do and what you can achieve. So I think we said it right at the start, Claire, it's keeping up to date with all of that. So you could just sit back, and I always joke with my team, I'll sit back and smoke a cigar. I don't even smoke, but there's no time to rest on your laurels in this job. You have to keep up to date, know what's happening, know what might happen, and be ready for it. So in where a war might happen or an economy might devalue their currency, so much of that you just have to be on your toes, and they're all challenges and daily challenges.
Yes, it's definitely a difficult period in history, what we're facing now. Having come out of COVID, one would have hoped that we'd have all learnt to rub along together, but the human race isn't like that. There must be some dinosaur DNA left in us.
I think so. It's all like I say, every day is different in my job anyway, but then you chuck in the country mix. And I have my colleague Natasha in Cala as well, in the South America, similar. She has 14 different languages. I've got 14 different languages, 16 countries, lots of cultural mix, religious and political views, and then you just kind of spin those plates and make sure they're all working well.
Yes. I love the advancement in globalization, but one can understand perhaps why countries like to trade, like in the United States. They have a big enough market that they can trade internally,
domestically,
without coming outside, and they choose if they want to come outside. What I hope the Congress will do will let people come and meet Americans in credit, but also Americans in credit can go and have a look at the wider world. So there's a kind of a two-way trade-off there. But I completely get your point, and I'm sure every day you're watching the news and navigating these ups and downs.
Exactly. But all interesting, and I've now made it not fun. But it is. At the end of the day, we set ourselves our targets, we go after our KPIs, we work really well with all the other colleagues, and driving for that then gives you that feeling of success once you do achieve your numbers, or you get through your financial year end, and just finished a really successful quarter again. So and then go again. So
no, I mean the lesson there, I think, is that if big companies have these issues, then obviously smaller organizations can be impacted even more heavily.
Definitely.
But everybody is impacted in some way or another, even the consumer at the end of the day. So well, I thank you for sharing all your insight today and your wisdom your wisdom, Bryony.
Bless you.
A lot of wisdom to share, which I think is fantastic for our audience. So your company, Anixter, have I said that right?
That's right. Yeah.
Anixter.com. That's Bryony's organization. And you can connect with her on LinkedIn. I'll put all her information in the show notes. Bryony, thank you so much for your contribution today. We really appreciate you surging ahead for directors of credit for women.
Thank you, Claire. I really appreciate you allowing me the time today, and good luck with the Congress. I hope it all goes well. Just going to correct on that. So our new website is wesco.com. So we're Wesco Anixter, so it'll be under wesco.com. My apologies.
That's okay. You had a balloon.
I did have a balloon. Do you need to see my balloon?
Yeah, come on.
I'm going to do
So
final balloon. This is for Ross. I have a Wesco Anixter balloon.
Thank you. That's brilliant. Product placement. I love it. I love it. So thank you so much. Just for everybody else, thank you so much for listening in to this edition of Shergroup on the Sofa. What some fantastic sound bites from Bryony. Shergroup is hosting the World Credit Congress this year in Orlando. We would love you to get involved. We've still got 100 days on countdown towards the Congress. So if you're minded to get involved, then please reach out to us. The website is worldcreditcongress.com. I have taken up the challenge of hosting it this year through Shergroup, and I am an attorney and a sheriff. So that's my involvement in the credit industry, as Bryony knows. Check out our website at shergroup.com. Check out the Congress website as well. All of that will be in the show notes. And for today, thank you very much, everyone. And thank you, Bryony.
Thank you, Claire. Bye.
Bye-bye.